Start condition repetition window. By clicking on the View menu and selecting the Start Condition Repetition option, or by clicking on its icon from the toolbar, this window opens. In the Start Condition tab, the test condition can be specified. If you want the test to run immediately after clicking on the Start icon, you have to select the Immediately radio button. After selecting this option in the status bar, the start condition is set on the immediately, and after running it, the test runs immediately. There is no delay between clicking on Start and Run. Please remember that the software default is this option. If you want the test to run after receiving the contact by one of the binaries, you have to select the unbinary input option. By selecting this option, its right side field is activated. You have to select the intended binary in it to start the test. In this field, the activated binaries are shown in the hardware configuration. For example, the C2 start is selected. Now, in the status bar, the start condition is set on the BI2 start. After clicking on the start icon, due to not receiving the contact by the C2 binary, the test has not been executed. Now, by receiving the contact by this binary, the test runs. The third method to start and run a test is the use of GPS antenna. By selecting the On GPS, a test could run according to the GPS clock. One of the applications of this option is in the longitude differential or to end-to-end tests. To run the test using this option, the socket of the GPS antenna should be connected to the rear part of the AMT-105 device, and the antenna is located in open space. By clicking on the Start Sync option, the sync process of the device with the satellite begins, and in the GPS status field, the GPS status is shown. By syncing of the device and software in the GPS status field, the GPS is sync term is shown. In addition, in the status bar, the start condition is set on the GPS sync. Also, in the status bar, the GPS time error is displayed in the time error section. Please remember that this number should be less than 1000 nanoseconds. The tester time is displayed online in this toolbar. In the satellite signal level history section, the number of satellites and the strength of each signal is shown. If the number of satellites and the signal strength is proper, the phrase detected is displayed in the time pulse field, and the device received the GPS signal. Then the device should be able to synchronize its time with the received signals from the GPS. The date and time of the tester are specified in the date and time tester section, that this time should be identical with the time of the GPS in the data and time GPS field. In the 32 bits windows, if the tester time is not the same as the time of your personal computer, you can use the Set Windows Time GPS, so the time of your computer becomes identical with the GPS time. Using the Next Full and Start Time options, how and when the test runs are selected. Using the Next Full after selecting this option, you have to specify the time between the sequential tests for the shot test from the drop-down list. For example, if you have several test points in the differential test, by selecting the 10-second, the GPS, by considering the injection time of the device, starts to count down in 10-second cycles, and in case of existing of untested point, when the inverse counter reaches 0, the next point is tested. Using this option, the start time for the end-to-end tests might not be the same. To solve this problem, you have to start the test using start time. Remember that this time is the time that the device adjusts with the GPS. Remember that in this method, only the first point is tested and the rest aren't. For these kinds of tests, the next full and start time should be simultaneously checked, so the first point starts with the GPS clock and the next points run with the next full method. For example, if in the differential room and for end-to-end test you have got 4 test points and you want to run the test at the same time with another point, you have to set the start time on a specified time. For example, 17, 45, 30, and also set the next full on 10 seconds. The first point is tested in the specified time, and next points are tested during the specified time period in the next full. You also see that in a status bar, the test time of each point and the remaining time until the next intended test point are displayed in the start and left time sections respectively. In the data section, the data about the GPS time, test location, etc. are shown. In the data and time GPS field, the time and data received from GPS are displayed. In addition, after that the sync ends, the tester time is recorded in the date and time tester field. Remember, this time should be identical with the time recorded in the date and time GPS. Also, the geographical width and length of the test location are displayed in the latitude and longitude fields respectively and added to the test report to be used. The exact location of the test could be found on the map. In addition, in this section, in the altitude section, the GPS amplitude with respect to the base level are displayed. In the fixed mode, PDOP and HDOP fields, various models of the location, location precision, and altitude precision are displayed. In the satellite field, the number of satellites used for settings are displayed. If the device received the spent pulses from the GPS in the time pulse field, the word detected is displayed. But if these signals are not received, the word not detected is displayed. In addition, in the satellite signal level window, the signal's receiving level from the GPS are displayed, and in the satellite signal level history, the number of satellites and the signal strength related to various satellites are displayed. Repetition tab. Since this tab is active only in the AMT sequencer room and inactive in other rooms, at first the AMT sequencer room opens and the descriptions related to this section are presented in the Start Condition Repetition window. This tab is used for repeating a test for the desired number of times. The number of test repetitions are inserted in the number of repetition field that the test can run for a maximum of 1000 times. For example, here 5 is inserted, so the test is repeated 5 times. Also, if the user wants to make a delay between each test repetition, he can enter his time as a delay in time between repetitions. For example, here 1 second is inserted and the test runs. You see that the intended test runs 5 times with the time intervals of 1 second.